Leading off our discussion tonight is Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He is a member of Appropriations, Foreign Relations, and Judiciary Committees. Senator, earlier I mentioned that New York Times reporting that the Defense Department is changing the death toll numbers from this war to exclude 4 fallen service members from the official count because their deaths occurred during the ceasefire. What message do you think that sends to the families of these service members?
I think this continues the disrespect shown to hundreds of American service members who've been injured in the line of duty and not adequately reported. And as someone who was at Dover Air Force Base yesterday with President Trump, with Secretary Hegseth, with other senators and House members and senior generals, the Chief of Staff of the Army, it seemed perfectly clear to me during that somber military ceremony where 4 families received the remains of their fallen loved ones, that they did not die during a ceasefire, that they died as a direct result of an attack by Iran on our allies in the region, and that they should be recognized and honored as having fallen in service to our nation during a war. So, look, the picayune matter of exactly what column of numbers their deaths belong in is far less important than the fact that we honor their death and their service. And frankly, what the American people and our service members are owed by Secretary Hegseth and President Trump is a clear strategy, a plan for how to end this war in a way that reopens the Strait of Hormuz, that weakens Iran, and that stabilizes the region. That's something they have failed to deliver in 145 days and at an enormous cost.
So what is your understanding of where things stand right now? And you mentioned that the Pentagon owes us some semblance of a strategy. To the extent that they've offered anything, what is your understanding of what the strategy is?
So President Trump keeps threatening to bomb more broadly, to unleash more on the Islamic Republic of Iran. And let me start by being clear about one thing that we all agree on. The Iranian regime has oppressed their own people, has supported terrorism throughout the region, has played a role in killing thousands of troops. These are not good guys. The mullahs and ayatollahs have led a dangerous terrorist regime. But throwing more bombs at them isn't going to produce a positive result. And part of President Trump's failed leadership in this instance has been how many different goals he has laid out. Remember, help is on the way. We're going to come help the Iranian people overthrow the regime, was something he was talking about early on when this war began. You don't hear much about that now. We're going to stop Iran's support for proxies, their ability to sustain Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. Well, the Houthis just closed another key strait in the region, the entrance to the Red Sea, so not much success there. What Secretary Hegseth has focused on is a few narrow goals. Sink their conventional navy. Yes, accomplished. Bomb a whole lot of their ballistic missile launchers. Yes, accomplished. Create a whole lot of holes in the ground. Sure, fine. But Iran's ability to use the huge number of cheap, lethal drones that they have and they manufacture quickly, that hasn't been contested. And all of this, frankly, is because he and President Trump have dragged their feet on embracing Ukraine, the one country in the world that has shown they are masters of detecting and intercepting Iranian Shahed drones. Now, our allies in the Gulf are doing that, the Emiratis, the Saudis, the Kuwaitis. But for us to not be doing that now, urgently, in order to strengthen the defenses of our bases, our homeland, and our allies, shows just a profound lack of strategic vision. There are some leaders within the military and intelligence community who've been pressing this forward and who've been urging this. But President Trump has not, so far, taken that key step, which would be the beginning of a strategy of getting us out of this mess.
Well, that brings me to my next question, which is, what would be considered an acceptable resolution in Iran at this point? What are Democrats asking for? Because presumably it's not another forever war. What is
Correct.
The best possible resolution we could get at this point?
Rule number 1 about holes. When you're in a hole, stop digging. Right now, what we are failing to do is to help Ukraine win their war against Russian aggression. And we seem to be just extending and continuing the war with Iran. One of the other key failings that President Trump had in planning for and executing this war was including our allies. whatever you think of President George W. Bush, before he went to war in the Middle East, he at least made the case to the American people, to Congress, and included all of our allies. Look, I'm not a big guy. If I were to ever go into a bar fight, I'd make sure that I had my bigger friends or my partners, cousins, neighbors, brothers going in with me. That's what we've done in almost every previous conflict. We won the Second World War in no small part because of how many great allies we had. Instead of berating our allies, President Trump and Secretary Hegseth should be working with them to get them engaged in reopening the Strait of Hormuz and securing the Strait of Hormuz. So partner with Ukraine, partner with NATO, partner with regional allies, set a clear timeline and goals, use the pressure of a blockade to put more pressure on Iran, get more sanctions applied to Russia and to China for their support of Iran, and negotiate until you're back to what Obama had, which was inspectors on the ground to make sure their nuclear program is over. All of this, I think, would be progress. Almost none of this is on their current menu. What's happening is more bluster, more bombs, and more threats, not more defense for American bases, not a clear path towards reopening the strait.
Senator Chris Coons, thanks for your time tonight. I hope you don't have any bar fights planned in your immediate future.
Thank you.